You just wonder if he's going to die, and what am I going to do if he does die, and how am I going to make it? He's my partner. We've been together since I was 18 years old. So we just didn't want him to die.
The COVID test was positive for 65-year-old John Archer. John received an antibody infusion to help him fight off the virus and was sent home. A few days later, Peggy, his wife of 46 years, noticed he was sluggish and slurring his words.
I was a little concerned. We had ordered one of the oxygen level indicators, and when I tested his oxygen, it was in the 70s.
At their daughter Heather's urging, Peggy drove John, a type 2 diabetic, to the emergency room at nearby Norton Brownsboro Hospital in Louisville, Kentucky. Heather and her fiancé, Scott, met them there.
What the doctors were telling us was the sickest patients that they had seen were people that were diabetic, had high blood pressure, and were overweight. And here he was with all these risk factors.
Even more alarming, John's blood sugar level was 1,250, when it should have been under 150.
Literally, when we dropped him off in the emergency room, we didn't know if we were going to see him again. So it was really scary and really emotional.
We started right away praying and started calling our people to pray.
Making it even more heart-wrenching, it was the same hospital where Heather lost her husband to cancer 6 years before.
We were in the same ER. He was moved to the same floor. And it's hard not to think about that when someone 38 years old dies.
Now in the ICU, John's heartbeat was irregular, and doctors were concerned about permanent damage. His oxygen levels were still dangerously low. John's doctors called Peggy, who was quarantined at home, and got her permission to put him on a ventilator.
And they were like, that's his best chance at survival is if we put him on a vent. Of course, you just automatically go to the worst case scenario because the percentage of people that get off a vent is very low.
We were obviously very, very frightened to hear that.
The next day, Heather, Scott, and the Archer's church family met outside the hospital to pray, while Peggy and their son Craig joined in through FaceTime.
It was freezing cold, and they just prayed for my dad, and it was so powerful and just so sweet. They came together and prayed for him when he couldn't do that for himself.
Peggy would need those prayers as well. John's doctors told her if he didn't improve within 48 hours, he might not survive.
I was very anxious, pacing the floor, waiting to hear an update. I wanted to know that something had improved. I felt like people were holding my hands up and helping me to pray and reaching out to God for a miracle.
In those critical hours, people continued to pray as doctors worked to stabilize John's blood sugar, heart, and oxygen levels. Then 2 days later, on Tuesday, February 2nd, the family got some good news.
They said he was improving. They said that his sugar levels had come down way, way, way down, and that his heart damage was minimal. And so we were just grateful for that.
However, John was still intubated, so his family continued to pray that he could come off the vent successfully without damage to his heart.
We were not quite out of the woods yet. You're just cautiously optimistic. You're not totally relieved yet because he's not off the vent yet.
Heather sent out updates on social media, asking people to intercede in prayer.
We didn't want his heart rate to ramp up. That was one of the things I specifically asked for people to pray for, that he would stay calm when they did take him off the vent.
On February 6th, 1 week after he was hospitalized, John was able to come off the vent. Heather recalls getting the news from the nurse.
When she called after they extubated him, he was calm. And I thought that was so awesome that God answered that prayer so specifically.
They held the phone up to his ear so we could hear his voice and he could hear our voice.
John was still weak and a little confused. The next day, however, Peggy got a phone call.
She answered the phone and I said, "Hi, honey, it's Lazarus." And she said, "John,
I'll never forget the look on her face.
It was just amazing. And we were able to talk to him for a few moments, and that was like the best. That was the best day.
It was the sweetest moment that you could imagine. We were just so excited. We definitely knew he was going to be okay after he called.
After 2 weeks of rehab, John came home. Now he's back to work and enjoying time with his family. The Archers believe that without prayer, John's outcome would have been very different.
Prayer is what saved him. God worked through the doctors and the nurses, but it's because of the prayer of others, and our prayers. I think God just knew he had to help us.
Prayer is a huge part of why he's still here. God's always faithful. He's always with us.
Prayer is your best weapon against Satan's plans for you. God listens to your prayers.
We're just regular people that got a miracle of healing. And we are grateful for that every day.